All right, good morning, agents. This is Kevin Lauren. I'm the Director of Training and Marketing here. And today we're going to go through things that your clients don't care about in your marketing. So, times have changed. It's a way different market than it was 5 years ago. And so we're going to go over things that used to work, don't work anymore, and what you should be doing. So before we get into today's presentation, we are joined by Bill Seitz, who we can see and is with us. Good morning, Bill. How are you doing? You may have to unmute yourself.
Okay, we almost nailed it.
All right, now we know.
That was like 99% right there.
All right.
Uh,
Hey, good enough. I'll take 99% any day.
all right. Yeah. Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Billy.
Happy Wednesday.
Absolutely.
Got a few things to go through, Kev, before we get into your stuff. Number one, I think you sent out a reminder that 1099s are almost done.
Yes.
So those will be out next week, is what the ETA is. So if you're wondering about your 1099, Abidon, our CFO, is finalizing that, and those should be available to you next week.
Yeah.
So
And then one thing to consider, everybody, he sends them out encrypted, and the way that you open it up is your social, and the social includes the dashes. So we get that question every year. So that is the way that you will open up your 1099 and be able to access it.
that is a great point. Number two, we had the DRE or the Broker Tuesday tip, which was the DRE sent out a bulletin. I'm not sure if everybody read it, but I'm going to just read it verbatim. It's very short, but just so everybody's aware, a lot of scammers, a lot of dirt bags out there that'll find any way possible to scam people, right? So it says the DRE urges licensees to be aware of DRE impersonations, email scams. Department of Real Estate urges all licensees to be on the lookout for an email scam circulating California's real estate community where the scammers are impersonating the DRE. The emails claim a formal complaint has been filed against the recipient and that the DRE has approved license solution for these real estate courses. These emails use DRE's official former logo or former official logo. DRE's current logo is pictured top left. So they're using both of the previous logo and the current logo. These emails are fraudulent. The DRE urges you not to click on any of the links associated with these emails. And the DRE will always have a dot or ca.gov in an official email if they are trying to communicate with you or have but I've found that it's very rare that they're going to communicate you directly unless there's something going on. So anyways, keep on the lookout for those. These tricky scammers, they're very creative and they can do things that most of us maybe might not pick up on. So
For sure. Just along those same lines, any emails that you get, always look at the email address it comes from. If it's a scammer, it's going to be some kind of a weird email address because what they'll do is they'll hack somebody's email or they'll just create some random email and then they'll use that. And so you might think that it's coming from a reputable source, but always just if you're unsure, please check the email and don't open things up from weird looking emails or email addresses. I mean,
that's the truth, and I think it's no, like one of the number one reasons we have the wire fraud advisory. These people overseas, very tech savvy people, they'll take basically logos of escrow companies and then they'll make them look all official, and then they'll ask clients or people to send money in before they should be or prematurely, and that's how the wire fraud gets typically happens. So in that case, I always tell everybody, I'm telling everybody now, it's on the meeting, always tell your clients to call the escrow officer directly over the phone, verify all that financial information that's important. Do not go off of an email. Even though they might send you the email with some instructions, you always verify it over the phone, not just oh, so and so sent me a email to wire, $250,000, and oh, it looks official because that's how they get you.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Leases. We've had a couple issues with some leases this past couple weeks. Just want to remind everybody the lease rental compensation agreement, very similar to the BRBC. Same thing. You sign an agency agreement with your client. You're going to find them housing. The client can either pay you your compensation that's agreed upon, or the housing provider can pay it. But one thing that gets lost sometimes with agents is they don't realize the payments have to go to the brokerage. They cannot go to individual licensees. That's a DRE no-no. So in this case, Alta Realty Group, if you have a client, you do a lease for them, or whether the housing provider is paying or the tenant, the check must be, or money or whatever, it must go to the brokerage, and then we pay you after we process the payment. So just a reminder of that. Checks cannot be made out to agents. That's a big no-no. And lastly, Kevin, let's take a quick peek at the finance because today there's supposed to be a Federal Reserve statement regarding rates. And here we are. We've seen a little
Here's our 10-year treasury.
Yeah, we've seen a little uptick. We're at 4.25. I think last couple of weeks we were down there in the 4.12, 4.15. So that tells me that no rate cut is going to be announced today. And you can even see down there at the bottom, U.S. Treasury yields move higher ahead of Fed's interest rate decision. So looks like our little reprieve was already baked in, but it wouldn't surprise me if it trickles back down in the next couple of weeks. So it's it's just kind of hovering between 4 and 4.25. And you can see we're early or late November, we were at basically right there at 4% on the 10 year, and now we've trickled up to 4.25. So
Yep.
anywho, yeah, let's fire up our funny our
Oh yeah.
our
Okay.
funny
So
reel before you get started.
yeah, so Bill's funny Instagram reel of the day. So this is whenever I see that friend who used another agent, right? So here it is.
So Kevin, we've talked about this one.
The stink eye, right?
Yeah, yeah. Nobody likes to have a friend or an acquaintance use another agent, especially when they've used you in the past. That means we didn't do a good job of staying connected to them. So, a lot of our whole themes here at Alta and our marketing training is to not be that guy.
Yeah, don't be that guy. So that's a funny reel, but guess what? That's on you, buddy.
Yeah, that's a stinger. That's like a funny one, but you don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, so stay ahead of that. And there's non-invasive and non-annoying ways to, stay top of mind with all the people that you've done business with, as well as your friends. So nobody wants to be bugged about it, but there's a fine line. But a lot of the things that we train about are ways to maintain that fine line and to not be, a jerk about it.
That's right.
All right, and then one last thing. So every month I put out our little blog posts, and so this was the one for January, 2026 U.S. housing market forecast. Will the market find its footing? And so it's a really good read. These are always found on the blog on our marketing website. So the marketing website and all of the agents that have the Sierra interactive system, they're always on argca.co. And then you can just go and find the blog section. And every month I put a new one out. And you guys on your specific argca.co websites, if you have if you're part of Program 2 and you have the Sierra system, it's your subdomain, but then you have the blog. So really good idea to send this out to your clients. And this is a reason to follow up and Ask them if they saw this. This is a really good read. It has very good stats. This is free information that you give out to your clients. And then, you're helping them be more prepared for the challenges that are presenting themselves in today's market. So really good read, great references. So that's always kind of the cornerstone of our marketing philosophy is that you send out, you provide at least once a month, you provide that top of mind information. And of course, you want to send this to your friends as well. And that is the thing that creates those marketing and real estate conversations. And it's the way that we don't get lost in the shuffle and we don't become the guy in the Instagram reel who's giving everybody the stink eye, right? So good stuff there. So I'm gonna switch gears here, and I'm gonna share a graphic I created for you guys today. So this is what, the things that buyers and sellers don't care about. So, right now, most, agents are starting to miss the mark when it comes to marketing. Not because they're lazy, they're not working hard, but it's because they're still marketing like it's, 5 years ago. And so this market looks nothing like it did 5 years ago. So it's time for, us to take a good look at what we're doing and kind of, reshuffle that. And this is the same stuff that we've been talking about, but it's sometimes good to just take this kind of view and say, okay, what do our clients not care about? Well, they don't really care about, so for a long time, and in the past, marketing for real estate was like, look at me, look at my sales, look at my rankings, look at my hustle. And, that did work for a long time. And we had a very good agent, Tom Fesky, that created a really fun and cute video that, it was like all about how he worked harder. And, he did this video himself, and it's all about him like running around, putting the signs up. He had like drone footage of himself, running in and out of the office building. And then, at the end, he's like getting a tattoo on his forearm that says, I work harder. And so it was actually a really well done video. And it was cute, and that still kind of works because it was funny. But the whole point is, that whole thing where it's like, you know, I work harder for you doesn't really matter because now the client is more like, skeptical. They're more informed. They're more focused on what's in it for them. They don't want the noise. They want it, they don't really care about the ego. They don't care about the bragging. And, they don't want to be disconnected from reality, which is what you're kind of doing when you're, doing all that bragging stuff. So we're going to go over the 5 things that your clients don't care about. Okay. So the first one is past successes where you're the hero, right? Nothing wrong with, having a good track record. Experience obviously matters, results matter. What doesn't matter is repeatedly bragging about how much business you did during the pandemic years or how many, transactions you've closed over the course of your career without connecting it to what a client is facing now because it's completely different, right? So buyers and sellers are not impressed by what you did when homes sold themselves in 48 hours and you had multiple offers and it was just, stuff was flying off the shelf. Anybody can be successful in that market. So these days, they're wondering, how you can help them navigate a market where the listings sit, where buyers hesitate, where decisions are, they're risky. People are really weighing upon these things. So, you know, the shift that we need to do with our marketing today is simple, but it is powerful. So stop making yourself the hero. Start making your process the hero. So instead of saying, I've sold, 20 homes, now you want to show how you've developed a marketing plan that repositioned a listing after showing slowed, after it's been on the market for a while. That's the story you want to start telling. You don't want to just, keep banging on, yeah, I did so great, 5 years ago. It doesn't work anymore. So, and I'm starting to see this kind of marketing really work for agents. So, you want to share a story of how your buyer plugged into your buying system. You want to help, show people how you helped that buyer prepare to win a home that others missed. You want to show that, you are creating processes that help a buyer, or you want to show how you help the seller, market your home to different people and get that right buyer for that. And you want to show those stories. So then your clients can see that, they can see themselves in the story. They trust that. When trust is expanding, your business is also expanding. And so that's the takeaway for number one. Number two, social media count, follower count doesn't matter to your clients. They don't care. So, the market doesn't care. The client certainly doesn't care. The follower count is one of the most misleading vanity metrics that there is in real estate marketing, you know? So there's agents that have massive followings, totally struggle to convert, and then there's agents that have just a couple of hyper, local, followers that are totally dominating their market. So we don't need to be that, vanity agent that, and quite frankly, a little pro tip here is most of those agents that have thousands of followers, they buy them. Those aren't real people. Those are bots, you know, so it doesn't matter. So if you have, thousands and thousands of followers and, all that stuff, that's kind of a sheeple mentality. You're not going to convert off of your bot, your paid for bots. So don't go down that rabbit hole because a lot of agents do, and it doesn't do anything for you. Sorry. Um, you know, so you can have. I'd rather have 80 views of people locally that are actually people than 8,000 views from, first of all, people that might be all over the place or are literally bots. So depth beats breadth every time. And instead of chasing those numbers, focus on creating your content, creating your ideal, things that your ideal client would actually value. We've talked a lot about, focusing on your your style client a few weeks ago. And so that goes back to the message that you send and how you structure your marketing to meet that perspective, right? So, and it's way better to talk about, local changes, market shifts, neighborhood insights, right? We talk about being super hyper focused and hyper local in your market and becoming the expert. And then, conveying that. That's what you want to be putting out there. So it doesn't matter how many, followers you have. Obviously, you want to always, gain more followers, but you want them local, you want them in your market. And also, of course, friends and family, because then you're going to stay top of mind. So that's also important. Your clients also don't care whether you like doing video or not. So, right now, where are we, guys? We're on a video, right? So video is what we all can connect with. It's really easy. It's a great forum. It's something that everybody needs to get better at. I know it's not what all agents, want to hear, but it is reality. Video is how people are consuming information today. YouTube, Instagram, short form clips shared in group chats, TikTok, whatever your forum is, it is the most important medium that you can be doing marketing on. So, and it's not about becoming some like massive influencer. It is about accessibility and trust. And when people can see you and you can convey your style and your personality, That's what starts the trust. And that's, what starts the decisions that they're going to make about whether or not they're going to use you. So, and they want to hear how you explain things. They want to hear how you convey ideas. That's what also starts to kind of, build that trust. And so, you don't have to be perfect. In fact, most, times when you're starting your video career, they're not going to be perfect, but you will get better the more you do it. And people can still, if it's not perfect, they can still see that it's genuine. And so I don't want you to get tripped up on, whether or not your video is perfect, right? You want to be able to say, hey, this is me. If you make a mistake, you can laugh it off and say, oh, uh, oops, sorry about that, or but still, it is a genuine video. And for those, marketing videos, you always want to keep them short. Your clients also do not care about awards and accolades. So they might look great on a wall, they might look great, on your website or something like that, but they're savvier, the current, buyers and sellers and consumers, they're much savvier than we give them credit for. So we know awards are, purchased or based on criteria that don't reflect things that matter to them, right? So what we want to do is move from putting yourself in the spotlight to becoming more like a lighthouse. Bing, bing, bing. We talked about this 2 weeks ago. So a spotlight shines attention on you. What does a lighthouse do? A lighthouse guides people safely to where they want to go. So that's the shift in the marketing, right? So don't post awards. You want to talk about obstacles you've helped clients overcome. You want to highlight creative solutions. You want to share how you navigated appraisal issues, financing challenges, timing constraints, issues that popped up in the process of selling or buying a home. So creating those stories that demonstrates competence way more than a little trophy on the wall or a little, accolade. So, let's get away from that. Let's get into telling the story and, showing people how we, you know, overcame something and got the sale done against all odds, right? Because I mean, let's just be honest. Most deals go sideways at some point, and you had to bring it back, and you got to, fix it, right? Tell the story. You got every one of the, agents on this call right now. You've got a story to tell. I guarantee it. So, and then the last one, the fifth point is, your clients don't really care how hard you work. They do, but they just want to see the results. Okay, so telling someone I work super hard, that's just, that's over. Okay, so, the market doesn't care. You know, the market cares about the outcomes. The buyers and sellers aren't hiring for effort. They're hiring for results. They just want it done. So talking about the late nights or the early mornings and the nonstop grinding, that doesn't inspire confidence. Sometimes it even creates doubt, and people want to know that you can get the job done efficiently, effectively, not that you're exhausted doing it and it was such a big deal, right? That's honestly, that's the opposite of what we should be talking about. We want to shift that message from effort to impact. Don't talk about the effort that it took. Talk about what, the impact was, the results of your hard work. So you're kind of talking about how hard you work, but this is a different focus, right? So again, we're going to tell the stories about the wins, not just the big wins, the little things that helped, a buyer or seller get through the process. So you want to share your systems, your processes. You want to share stories of how your systems and processes help the seller maximize their sales price, sell their home, faster, or how you made it a smoother transaction, right? So those are, the big ones. And then the real takeaway is, it's not about, dumbing down your marketing. It's about actually making it sharper and more effective. So the fastest way to grow your business in today's market isn't louder bragging, it's clearer messaging. Messaging that says, I understand what you're facing, I know how to help, and I'm going to get you through this process. So those are the things I want you guys to take away from today's meeting. And Bill, I know you've usually got a few really good takeaways. So have
Taking
a
my notes, taking my notes, Kevin.
good boy.
Uh, I like vanity metrics. That's funny. Uh,
It's so true.
that's just today's world, right? Uh,
For sure.
but the highlights obviously is the key, highlighting successes. And I think in this market, while we're still not back to maybe pre-COVID sales levels or the last couple of years have been tough, experience matters. Knowing the market, knowing how to get creative financing done, offering solutions and not just thinking you're going to upload it to the MLS, do some open houses and get it done. Because it might not get it done. And that's why we talk about even creative financing. Things are expensive. Financing is relatively expensive for the price of the homes. So knowing like those buy downs, we talk about creative stuff all the time. And that's something would be a highlight that, finding a sale in a difficult situation and having that as a solution, that would be a huge highlight, right? It goes
Yep.
exactly to what you're talking about.
Yeah, and Mel Chappelle says that she has a great videographer in the Bay Area for our Bay Area agents, and she had an amazing video done about a home where they were. I think it was a music studio. Is that right, Bill?
Think he was somehow involved with the music era, some of those, amazing bands of the 70s and 80s, and then he had a story behind the house that she
Yeah,
incorporated, I think a Sausalito home that this guy had a story to tell about the home and how he was, networked with the music industry of the time and he gave some historical background of the neighborhood and it was actually really well done.
yeah. Mel, was that the videographer you were talking about?
Be fun to show that one again, actually.
I
If
know,
she
right?
says yes.
It is,
Yeah,
yes. Very
yeah.
cool. No, thanks for that. So, yeah, and I love that, the synergy, between the agents. It's just like we can all share in, things that are working for you, right? So, thank you for that, Mel. Appreciate it. But yeah, love that point there, Bill. Anything else?
No, just yeah, once again, just 1099s out next week. Um, checks on leases go to the brokerage. And we always thank everybody for attending, and we hope everyone has a good week.
Absolutely. Agents, thanks as usual for attending our Wednesday webinars. Looking forward to seeing you guys all next week. So get out there, make this week a great week and a productive week, and we will see you guys all on the Wednesday webinar next week.